Carl and Liam here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And it's video game track by track time as we are going back to the PS1 days to have a talk about the music of Medieval, the action-adventure hack-and-slash video game released on the Sony PlayStation, set in the medieval kingdom of Galimir and centers around Sir Daniel Fortescue, who has been resurrected from the dead to stop Zarok's invasion of the kingdom while redeeming his own piss-poor behavior in the original when he was alive. It was released in 1998 in Europe, but it has been re-released on the PlayStation Network since, as well as having a sequel in the year 2000, and has been remade twice. Once for the PlayStation Portable as Medieval Resurrection in 2005, and then simply as Medieval for the PlayStation 4 in 2019. Big fan of this game, got a lot of history with it, still really appreciate it to date. You know, I can play it and still enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a hugely nostalgic game for all of us, I think. You, me, and Damon growing up playing it a lot, and so it's always nice to revisit the music and to get that nostalgia feels going on.
Did you have a lot of familiarity when you re-listened to the tracks?
Some, but then like I honestly didn't remember it being as epic as a soundtrack, because like when you're like I played it when I was quite young, so I guess I don't really pick up on the epicness of soundtracks when you're younger. Maybe the volume wasn't cranked up enough or something, but yeah, I thought like I was actually really quite impressed by the soundtrack for a game that came out on PlayStation 1 especially, you know.
Yeah, it's a weird soundtrack because you often, most of the tracks, or a lot of the tracks often start off in a sort of like lighty, whimsical kind of way, and then suddenly, boom, 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 and all this like booming noise comes in and vocals come in, and you're like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I didn't expect some of the operatic stuff in there, and like, I don't know if they actually used a live orchestra, but it does sound like they did. But even if they didn't, it sounds like they did that. But who knows? I don't even know the history behind it. So
no, fair enough. I don't have much details beyond that. So we're going to go for it as per usual, track by track. Opening with Welcome to Galimir, basically the music that plays in the introduction and on the main menu, and it's got a nice atmosphere to it. It's got that whimsical feel. It's a nice intro, nothing too much going on here, but you kind of get a little bit of that. Well, it's going to come up a lot, to be honest, that Tim Burton vibe, Danny Elfman-esque.
You said it already.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I heard it immediately made me think of the full motion video that plays and shows the huge war between Zarok and how Daniel meets his untimely end, and I thought it set up the mysterious gothic vibe that the game has really nicely.
Agreed. Then we get menu, just menu, and it's gothic but listenable because it's kept quite light. But this is an unnotable one.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I think we mentioned in one of the previous ones about credits, end credits music and final piece of music, but there's something about menu music as well. Sometimes that can be quite strong. I guess it's one of the first things you hear when you start a game.
True.
So I probably heard this one more than others. Like you mentioned before about familiarity, and this one definitely like made me go back, because I guess I must have sat at the menu of Medieval like, over the years and just let it like play. So it definitely take me back. And I can't hear this music without hearing the skeleton like doing his little laugh, when you select if you want to like load a save or start a new game. And you obviously mentioned the Tim Burton inspiration is clearly there on the soundtrack as a whole. Liked it.
Yep, well put. I love that you brought up the menu thing as well, because one of my alarms is a menu screen, well, technically a save/load screen from a certain game called Super Mario 64, which is just phenomenal save menus music. But there you go. Combined here, we have Crypt and Graveyard. So it's basically level-centric, the music. So we've got the crypt and the graveyard. So the crypt's where you first sort of get to, call it your training area, and the graveyard is level 1 completely. And here we kind of get a fun and kind of playful feel kind of music. Something that fits the cartoony horror vibe that the game has. But, as we've mentioned already, then kind of ramps up out of nowhere to being quite a bit more intense.
Again, classic, memorable, awesome. I can just see myself running around as Daniel for the first time after he awakens from the crypt.
Yeah,
takes me back.
Cemetery Hill, again, whimsical, but this is one that builds up and ramps up again, and you get really strong gothic vibes as it kind of reaches its apex.
Yeah, I think if there's one single track that most people would agree epitomizes Medieval and its whole vibe and atmosphere, and the one that they associate with it, I think it probably would be this one, most
Yep.
likely because it's the first level. So you know whether you get beyond that is yeah, that's like. But I just think it's a really epic track, and they throw in some operatic vocals in there that I mentioned before, which was quite surprising. Didn't see that coming, and yeah, it just gives me fond memories of making your way down that hill as Daniel and you're slicing through the zombies as they rise from the ground in their coffins.
Yep. And it should be noted as well, part of the reason why a lot of people might have more association with this level and this new piece of music is because when this was demoed, when it, back in the day and you had your demo discs, it was this level was the demo.
I think I remember playing that demo
Yep.
actually. So, yeah.
The Hilltop Mausoleum. This is super gothic with that high organ playing that proper jarring, loud organ. It captures the inside of a mausoleum nicely. I really like it. It's just it's different to what we've heard up to this point.
Yeah, I thought this was a really damn cool track. You can really feel the power of the church organ, that someone is really killing on that thing. It makes you think of some crazy epic boss battle or something, but it's being used for something far simpler in the game. It just shows how hard they went on this soundtrack. Yeah, and like genuinely, did Danny Elfman did he work on the soundtrack? Kind of felt like there's got to be something there, man.
Yeah, I'll imagine there was a couple of, can we send a cease and desist letter?
Yeah.
A return to the graveyard. Oh, I like that it's a more frantic and energetic twist on the track that we already heard. It's basically the graveyard music redone, but a little bit faster, a little bit more frantic. However, overall, I think this is mostly forgettable. This doesn't really do much for me.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit more low key, which is a nice change of pace, but still, it still had an epicness to it, but a bit too familiar maybe.
Scarecrow feels one of the best for me as it conveys danger and wondrous depth, playful and frightening in equal measures, while also getting quite intense. The Scarecrow feels is one of the more intense levels because of a number of different things, and I think the music fits it perfectly.
Yeah, this music it really made me think of those annoying scarecrow enemies that spin at
Yep.
you, and I used to get a real kick back in the day from getting your club and lighting it on fire and burning down the hay bales. So it really took me back to that, and yeah, just I thought it was a nice track overall. Sets the tone of the level really nicely, and can feel quite frantic in places as well, which I thought suited the level because of some of the tight spaces you get stuck in. So yeah, it's good.
Because remember, if you accidentally go into the cornfields, it's instant
Mm,
death. There's something in there.
yes.
Pumpkin Gorge. Okay. I think this might be the last time I'm going to reference him, but my God, this is the most Danny Elfman tune of all. Oh my God. Oh my God. How they didn't get in trouble for this one. But I don't like this. I actually think this is a really just bog standard, below average piece of music.
That's really interesting because I had pretty much the same opinion. I thought it was technically a well-made piece of music. It has a nice zip to it. I don't think it really fit the swampy gorge feel of the level too well. I don't know if it was associated with this. Yeah, I don't know if it was because it was in this particular level, but I would struggle to place it if I just heard the music and like
Oh,
didn't know it was for this level. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because you kind of get the Pumpkin Gorge and you get the Pumpkin King battle, and it's like it's used in both.
Hmm.
The Ant Caves, probably the most horror-like piece of music in the game. It's not the nicest thing to hear, but my God, does it fit the dark and lost feel of the level? Because that level is easy. It's very easy to get lost in and repeat yourself. And I think it kind of nails that. And hearing it brought back memories of having to search around everywhere for one of those last fucking fairies.
Yes, the dreaded ant cave's not one of my favorites as a kid growing up. Uh, one of those ones that you wish you had a guide for when you were a kid. And I thought the music does a great job of giving the area that dreaded, creepy feel that it wants to have. And also thought it's a nice change up from more peppy tracks that have recently come before it.
True. Battle. It's really simple. It's got the right amount of frantic energy that you need for a battle tune.
Yeah, I believe this plays during the boss battle with the stained glass window boss. So
All of them.
yeah, I thought it really captured. Oh, it plays during every boss battle. Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it really captures that struggle that goes with the big epic battle and
Yeah.
how, yeah, the struggle you go through.
Agreed. Agreed. All right, double again here because it's used twice in 2 levels. Slightly different variations though, so it should be noted. We have the Enchanted Earth and the Sleeping Village. Look, this is fabulous. This is amazing music used really clever. It's super dreamy, it's super gothic, it's super haunting. I hear it, I immediately picture either the village itself and the difference in gameplay that comes from that was really unique and interesting at the time. But also remember the enchanted earth and the challenge that that level brings as well, and the different elements that has. That great level design, great music to match both.
Yeah, I mean, you've put it completely perfectly. I think this has got to be one of, if not the most atmospheric pieces of music in the game. And I always really like the level because what's creepier than exploring this abandoned village? On the whole, it's just great stuff, and it suits the setting perfectly.
Agreed. Yeah, I can see that one being, near the end. The Asylum Grounds, it's a bit silly, a bit playful, which to me fits the vibe of the level quite nicely. Of course, the riddles and the jokey kind of voices and the conversations. It fits that.
Yeah, this is my personal favorite level in the game. We've got a lot of fun
Oh,
memories of going around it and solving the riddles. I just thought it was just a lot of fun. I really nice concept doing that, and thought it has a sort of like Alice in Wonderland type vibe going on there, maybe a little bit.
for sure.
I feel the soundtrack, yeah, and I thought the soundtrack did a wonderful job of just really adding to all of that. Yeah.
How interesting, because the next one is my favorite level in the game and of what I consider to be one of the more underrated pieces of music. It's Pools of the Ancient Dead. This is one of those forgotten ones like in the game that I think people forget is very, very challenging, a very challenging level. And I love it for how it, again, changes up the gameplay. But musically, it really fits it. It's really, really strong stuff.
Yeah, I was when I was listening to this, I was just going to put down how it was just another kind of forgettable, subtle track. But then there's a moment in it when operatic vocals kick in out of nowhere, and then this military marching effect also is added. And yeah, just it turns into another very good piece of music that gives you the sense that you're in for a fight.
For sure. The Crystal Caves. If you were to ask me what kind of music should play for a level that's called the Crystal Caves, I couldn't have done it any better. This is perfect. It's twinkly music that conjures up images of light hitting crystals and things like that. It's perfect for the level.
Yeah, you mentioned in one of the previous ones, but I do think this also has that whole dreamlike feel to it, which is nice. It's probably one of my least favorite levels, if I recall, due to the narrowness of the caves and not being much fun to navigate, and the game's starting to feel a little bit repetitive at this point and a bit challenging.
Yep.
Trying to find the keys and that, so I don't have fond memories in that regard, but decent soundtrack.
Yeah, and of course, don't ever forget that also glorious camera.
Yes.
The Haunted Ruins, extremely and easily the most melodramatic piece of music. The violin, the melody. This is weirdly incredibly despondent sounding music.
Yeah, this is the level when I believe Daniel returns to his hometown,
Yeah.
and only to find that it's in ruins. And so the soundtrack, I thought, does a really good job of capturing just the sadness, the melancholic nature of the situation. Yeah,
You know what I always associate the music with is basically to get the chalice in that level, you must make sure the 3 villagers do not die at the start of that level. You need to be quick and stop the
yeah.
beastie from killing them, dropping them
Mm-hmm.
into fire. They're like, oh, okay, that's a hell of a start to a level.
Mm-hmm.
The ghost ship. Ah, this level. We all had fun with this level. But I am super glad, right, that they didn't go with piratey music here, because that's what you kind of expect them to do. Instead, they kind of focus on a more ghostly atmosphere thing. And I think that works way much more in its favor.
That's true. Thankfully, they didn't go parity, but yeah, I don't have particularly fond memories of this level due to the annoying confined space on the ship, and the enemies are attacking you left, right, and center. You've got the traps to contend with as well. And the music for me, it just doesn't really like stand out. It sounds very similar to other tracks a little bit that come before. It's not bad by any means, just not particularly memorable.
I think you've nailed it there. I think you're so focused on the navigation, platforming navigation of this level and enemies that you
Mm.
can't kill outright, that the music, you're not paying attention.
No, not really.
But then we get the time device, and yeah, this is a bit weird. It's wacky. It's very unusual. It's completely off base of what we've just been going through. So because of that, I think it stands out really, really strongly.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about familiarity with the music before, and this is the point in the game where I think my familiarity definitely started, even though I re-listened to it before we did this, but my familiarity with it and like taking me back to the levels and stuff, it kind of like goes out a little bit because I think I didn't really often get that far in the game because this is the point where it really ramps up in the difficulty.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I have definitely completed it, but I'm pretty sure I used cheats to do that back in the day. But yeah, but still, I thought the music here was really, really great actually, and it encapsulated the dark fantasy vibe of the game on the whole wonderfully well.
Yeah, this is fantastical level with music as well, because it's almost in complete contrast to a lot of the other levels at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Penultimate track, Zarok Final Battle. Look, this is so plain and uninteresting that I didn't even remember it. And I know the soundtrack really fucking well. And I was like, oh yeah, this piece of music. What? No,
Really,
this,
really.
yeah, it didn't do anything
Oh,
for me.
that's quite surprising because I thought that it actually didn't disappoint in that this is the epic final encounter with Zarok, and I thought it really made you feel like you were going up against this really like evil villain. It builds to a really nice crescendo right at the very end as well. So yeah, I quite liked it.
Interesting. That brings us to the last one, which is simply called Ending Tiles. This is going to become a common theme. Liam's already mentioned it in another video. The first track by track, it's going to be brought up here again. Sometimes the credit rolls can be simply spectacular. And Medieval has a spectacular credit roll piece of music that combines so many of the elements they've shown throughout, from the sort of starry, lighter, dramatic stuff to here's atmosphere, but also, here's our epic grandness. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, it is really great, and it really does make you feel like you've been on an epic journey with Daniel and your Avengers legacy, and it's a fitting end.
It is a fitting end. Overall, I think it's a fun soundtrack with enough individual tracks that sound cool and fun and interesting that you can have fun with it without knowing the game necessarily.
Yeah, I'd probably go as far to say that it's quite an underrated soundtrack on the whole because of how like the technical nature of some of the songs and stuff, like the stuff they throw in there. Like I said, is there a live orchestra or not? I don't know, and the vocals and stuff like that for a PlayStation 1 game, I think it's quite grand in scale considering like what other games. I mean, obviously there's a lot of PlayStation 1 games with great soundtracks, but I think this is like technically quite superior to a lot of them. Yeah.
No, I agree. Right, well, top 3 tracks, and I will take it away this time. So it was actually, one was easy, the rest were a little bit difficult, but I've gone, well, I'll do the easy one first, and it is the Sleeping Village / the Enchanted Earth. That was always a guarantee. But elsewhere, I kind of struggled, and I settled on Scarecrow Fields and Pools of the Ancient Dead.
Okay, that's interesting. I've also got Sleeping Village in there. Got to be in there. It's definitely one of the best. I've got Mausoleum in there because I just thought the organ was killing it.
It's so good, yeah.
And I put Cemetery Hill in there, even though it may not be technically the best track. For me, it's just the one that I think of when I think of Medieval. It takes me back. It's the nostalgia, I guess, goggles with that one, but got to have it in there.
No, I completely get it because it's easily, arguably, probably the most recognizable, probably for us there, you know. But yeah, that's it. It's one of those soundtracks that I really want on vinyl. So anyone want to sort that out for me, please do. That's Medieval, the PS1 game. You got any thoughts and you know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhblofficial.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?